Hello, hello, and welcome once again. J76NY here, and we are back in Sordland to continue the story of President Anton Rayne. Last episode, we got a trade deal down here with Wayland. They weren't my first choice, but the Agnolians were less than receptive to my immigration policies, so they basically turned their nose up at Sordland, so I turned my nose up at them. That could have consequences later in the game, but we got snubbed, so we're going to move forward without the Agnolian trade deal. The only thing we have to do right now is to give the speech of the President on the reforms at the Grand National Assembly, so we will get into that. I came to the Grand National Assembly of Sordland to deliver a speech regarding the new Constitution and ask for the support of the Assembly before the upcoming vote. I walked quickly through the corridors, giving my greetings to people on my way towards the Parliamentary Hall. When I entered the hall, the Assembly was in complete chaos, with shouting and cursing between the parties. There was a heavy argument about a proposal made by an MP from NFP, which is the National Front Party. I took my seat inside the special area reserved for the ministers. Gloria was shouting from her seat at the center of the hall as she hit the gavel 3 times, with each strike heavier than before. She's the Speaker of the Grand National Assembly and the leader of our party, one of the old guard that does not support my constitutional reforms. So we are not a big fan of her as she bellows out, "Order, order." I saw Kazero Keebner standing up from his seat and shouting towards the members of the PFJP, which is the People's Freedom and Justice Party. Keebner is the leader of the National Front Party. Mr. Keebner, calm yourself. Show respect to the procedures of this assembly. Despite her efforts, the argument continued for a couple of minutes before everyone took back to their seats and finally went quiet. Mr. Keebner, next time when I tell you to do so, either take your seat or leave the hall, so we can proceed with the procedures of this assembly and continue our duties. Some MPs from the NFP side shouted back at her in protest. "Honorable ladies and gentlemen, if you allow me to continue." She pointed at me. "We have the President here with us today. He has asked to give an important announcement." The Assembly fell silent. "You have the floor, Mr. President." Now, what I'm hoping to accomplish with this speech is to win over some more votes for my constitutional reforms. We did have a meeting with the head of our party, Gloria Torre. She did not take well to any of the reforms. After that, we met with the leader of the reformist wing of our party, and he was way more receptive than she was. I think trying to move Sordland forward, I may move towards a more reformist approach. If I have to side with the reformist to get the constitutional amendments or reforms passed, I will. I do want to try and push the old guard out, so we will see what happens. Now, you're given 3 or more choices. Each choice affects the outcome of the stories and the way the people react. It's a pretty good story, too. So we will go with honorable members of assembly. Some of the choices are kind of mundane, but honorable members of the Grand National Assembly of Sordland, I am here today to raise important questions regarding our outdated constitution. This one is probably a little more important. The Supreme Court holds too much power. Our election threshold has harmed our democracy more than anything. Perhaps it's not expected of me to say this, but the President holds too much authority. Our elected assembly has always been overshadowed. I'm going to go with this one. Our elected assembly has always been overshadowed by the executive and the designated judiciary branches in Sordland. The Grand National Assembly must be able to exercise its job properly and without obstruction. However, our current constitution fails to guarantee this. Therefore, we propose changes to the constitution to prepare Sordland for a more democratic era. We must finally rewrite the constitution of Sol and break our chains of the past. I call everyone to stand by us to make this historic change to our constitution and bring it to the standard of today's world. I'm going to go with option number 1. Therefore, we propose changes to the Constitution to prepare Sordland for a more democratic era. Applause came from USP and PFJP seats. We will break the Supreme Court's authority over our constitutional changes, or we will rebalance the branches of government to ensure a more democratic process. This one seems a little too aggressive, so we will rebalance the branches of government to ensure a more democratic process. I focused on unity, change, or peace. Change is the name of the game. We must not be afraid of change. The world is changing, and Sordland needs to change it. Needs the change it has earned after years of solism in the last decades. We will rewrite the old and make a constitution that would reflect the will of the people and open the way for a democratic Sordland. We will make Sordland great again, or let's embrace the future. Let's embrace the future. Just as I was about to continue speaking, Gloria Torrey interrupted me. That's rude. Mr. President, with all due respect, I believe Sordland is already democratic. Please don't interrupt me. I'm not finished yet. We both know our Constitution is flawed. We're going to go with that. She might not believe it, but I'm going to put her on the spot. Tarkin Sol and his efforts cannot be ignored. We must keep following the path he defined for the Sordish people. I'm sure the honorable members of USP will see that the president is acting rash by allying with the opposition to destroy the culture of solism that established Sordland. That was the extent of my quick note. Thank you. The president has the floor. That was disrespectful. Please don't try to sabotage my speech. We are not here to destroy solism, nor our cultural values. Who are you trying to provoke, Miss Torrey? USP is behind me, which they aren't, really. I'll act as if that didn't happen. I'm just going to ignore you. We're not here to destroy solism. Maybe try and sway some of the old guard. That's not yet on my side. Please continue your speech, Mr. President. Well, thank you for your permission. Ladies and gentlemen of the Assembly, we must set aside our differences. It's time to make a new constitution together. I ask everyone to think clearly about our current situation and join us for change. Think clearly about our situation and join us for change. Be a part of a new era for Sordland. Join us and vote for our proposal. I ask everyone to support us in the upcoming vote, or I demand your votes. I'm going to put it like this because it comes across as either you come with us and move Sordland forward, or you fall by the wayside. Let's write the future together. I will address all the problems of the past in my proposal. USB will change and lead Sordland into the future. That sounds like a good option. It's exactly what I'm trying to do. Finish with a poem. Or salute the crowd. I'll finish with a poem. And now I have to read it all. There is a destiny above destiny. There is a victory growing with every morning. There is a revolution that's coming. That seems a little, I don't really like any of these options here. There is my country beyond everything. My beloved. We'll go with that. There are songs to be sung in affection of our victories. There is a spring that blossoms out of the graves of our fallen. Jesus, there is the evil that tortures and tears me down. Spring, which hopefully will come pretty soon because I'm sick of winter in real life. Spring is a sign of change. Do not doubt the one. The decision coming from the heavens. Fear not when the dark falls. There is an artist painting the sun. Do not dare to surrender. Okay, we'll go with that one. Beyond the next morning, there is a victory waiting to be won. The assembly roared with all kinds of different reactions. Some applause came from the PFJP and the USP seats, most of the others starting to make loud noises again. Thank you for the speech, Mr. President. I walked back to my seat as many MPs asked to speak. Franz Richter, who is the leader of the PFJP. Yes, Mr. Richter. Thank you, Mrs. Speaker. I would like to thank Mr. President for his speech. We, the People's Freedom and Justice Party, stand in agreement with the need for a more democratic constitution. I would like to thank the ladies and gentlemen of the United Sordland Party for their more open attitude compared to past years. As long as Mr. President's words prove not to be just words, we will be behind this much-needed movement for change. We welcome this attempt. I ask Mr. President to share the final contents of these proposals as soon as possible. Thank you, Mrs. Speaker. Suddenly, Kizero Keebner started to yell from his seat. The President must have lost his mind to cooperate with the likes of you, Mr. Richter. What a dick. You and PFJP are nothing but puppets of Western interest. Order. Madam Speaker, I know you are in agreement with me as well. Don't stand idly there while this administration is making deals with snakes and undermine the integrity of Sord. Order, Mr. Keebner. How many times do I need to say it? You are speaking out of turn. I demand to speak. Gloria gave him a stare. She looked annoyed. Very well, go ahead. Mr. President, he looked directly at me. The nationalist movement does not agree with your priorities, nor the way you're trying to implement them. The National Front Party will not stand with you on your new constitution. Let it be known that the NFP's concerns are not included in this so-called democratic reforms. Thus, Mr. President has no right to claim them as such. We will stand our ground against any attempt to bring down our established political culture and national values. Thank you. So the NFP is not on my back side. Asked to speak. I'm going to speak again. Who do I want to address? Leader of the NFP or the I'm going to talk to Keebner. It is you who shouldn't use the word democratic when you want a more centralized government. We are not specifically cooperating with someone but everyone. We ask that you also join us. I am saddened to hear about your opposite stance. I'm going to go on the attack with this one. You watch as he slouched in his seat, legs crossed. Do not stand against change. Be a part of it, Mr. Keebner. We can do much more together. Do you dare stand against us? Otherwise, know that the NFP is guaranteed to be history. I respect your opinion, and we don't need you. Change is coming. You can join us or piss off. I expect your support in the upcoming vote. We will bring change regardless of your support. Thank you. Your time has passed. We will bring the change regardless of your support. Gloria looked at me to see if I'd finished my response. Mr. Richter. I looked at him. We'd like to have cooperation between our parties, which we already have, so I expect your support, Mr. Richter. We can do much more together. Thank you for your support. We are looking forward to working with the... I welcome your positive attitude. Seems like a good response. And I guess that's all I've got to say. So thank you, Mrs. Speaker. I got up from my seat and started to walk towards the exit. MPs kept shouting and responding to each other, creating a loud mess where nothing was legible. And she tries to get order. I slowly left the hall. The shouting could be heard from every corridor in the Grand National Assembly, so we caused quite an uproar. Alright, let's read the news. Our elected assembly has always been overshadowed. From the Whole Sword Post, President Rayne has called on the Grand National Assembly of Sordland to support the upcoming constitutional changes in his address in the Parliament. The President's address came after a series of meetings within the USP, which probably involved discussions about the new constitution. President Rayne talked about the main points of their proposed change and revealed that the current draft will be looked over again with the leaders of the PFJP before it is proposed in Parliament. And there's a kind of a recap of my speech, which I won't go through again. Walker warns Volkslandian Navy over Helgeland dispute. The tensions between Agnolia and Volksland keep climbing. The latest addition to the escalation happened yesterday on the Volkslandian Channel when the Volkslandian ship started advancing on the perimeter around the island. According to the Agnolian sources, yesterday in the morning, the Agnolian battleship Van Gilben has intercepted a Volkslandian destroyer, Stanison, and warned them to move out of Agnolian waters. Seeing this event as Volksland, so tensions are rising between Agnolia and Volksland over this island here. So that could cause some problems. See what we have here. Read the report from Suzerain. Defense Minister Joseph Lancia reports that the Wayland border has been closed and the Division of the 3rd Army are ready for operations. Okay. Nothing of foreign interest to look into. So the report from Whole Sword on the reforms. Lucien Galad reports that so far they have been able to get in total 121 signatures behind the proposal. Efforts are underway to increase the support and to reach out to necessary members to reach 150. So we are not really that far off from the 150 we need in the Grand National Assembly. So if we go into, let's see, where is it here? The legislature. USP does hold a majority of the seats, with the PFJP and the NFP and the independents making up the rest. We are going to probably have to rely heavily on the reformist with Franz Richtner, but I am perfectly okay with that. The Supreme Court only has 3 reformists and 3 centrists, with the rest being old guard, but between the two of them, they do outnumber the old guard, so that's a good thing. See what happens now. Wealth of Nations. I think we're into the next chapter of the history of Sordland, or the remaking of Sordland. Okay, I like to start with the news to see what the news has to say. So the Lachaven Times. Health requires more resources. The latest report coming out of the Ministry of Health regarding the current situation and the need for privatization raises serious questions about the gargantuan scale of effort required to solve the structural issues of health in Sordland. One part of the report about the threat of a potential epidemic being real stands out as it highlights the problems of the current voluntary vaccination policy. Minister Benawal has increased his calls for more financial resources to be able to make more changes to welfare within one term to cover existential issues like epidemic prevention. The report on the potential effects of privatization also include the downside of what damage private interests could do inside the system of healthcare. And then the hidden power of men in uniform. No political leader in Sordland can survive in office without some support from the general staff. President Wissey was a leader who learned this lesson the hard way. In 1927, a military coup brought an end to his short term as president, and later President Alfonso became a target of alleged conspiracies by the Old Guard. So the Old Guard is going to stand their ground and hold firm no matter what, no matter who. Because power is something that they are definitely not willing to give up. The Old Guard's known to be very close to the general staff of the Sordish Armed Forces, but I think I've made the right choices to get Lancia and the general staff on my side. Though nowadays fewer officers assume the role of political leaders, military influence continues to have major repercussions in politics across eastern Marcopa. According to a report by the Alliance of Nations, Sordland has one of the most influential militaries in the region, coming just behind Wayland, where the actions of the generals indicate serious military interference in politics. Alright. So let's see what we have to do. A couple of major events. Let's check on this. The opening of the H3 highway. Oh, fantastic. Our highway project is apparently done, and oh, look at all this. I am going to probably check out this first. The opening of the H3 project. Arriving in Lachaven for the grand opening ceremony of the H3 highway was a proud moment for us all. Simon and Lilius, who heavily assisted the project, were with me along Lucien to decide how to proceed tomorrow. Lucien stood up. He's my my chief of staff. He's the Minister of Economy, and she's the Minister of Interior. First of all, congratulations everyone to many more projects like this. Well done. We couldn't have done this without our excellent team. Indeed. Let's move on to our plans for the opening tomorrow. It's been a long time since the last successful infrastructure project. There is a good reason to capitalize on the occasion. I have a plan on how to do that. If Mr. President accepts, a drive from Lachaven to Arvoy should do the trick. After the motorcade takes off, the road will be open to the public. That sounds like a pretty good idea. What are your thoughts? I don't support anything beyond the opening ceremonies. Actions speak for themselves. Involving the President could be beneficial for his image. I think so too, Mr. President. I'm gonna go with it. Seems like a kind of ceremonial, but sends a good message. It would display unity and strength if we were all together in the convoy. Additionally, a large crowd is invited for the ceremony and will be watching the opening speech. Nothing like a cheerful crowd. It will be a good opportunity for exposure, like the good campaign days. I guess we can't help it. Nothing like a cheerful crowd. Simon stepped in for a comment. On another note, it goes without mentioning that this was a team effort. Beginning with the President, who put trust in me, I want to thank all involved in the H3. Thank you for your kind words. It truly means a good deal. Simon, you deserve a lot of credit. After all, it was you who came up with the project. I'm going to pump his ego a little bit. Finally, people got what they wanted for a long time. We will need to show our best face tomorrow. I'll make sure that our focus on improving business and logistics is relayed to wherever necessary. Alright, we've got a lot of work tomorrow. See you in the morning. See you at the ceremony. The team left, leaving the rest of the evening to prepare for the big day tomorrow. The next day, a stage had been erected next to the entrance of the highway in the downtown. The calm and warm weather created a positive mood in the usually breezy Lachaven. The crowd was large, but still smaller than some rallies due to the strong PFJP presence here. We began moving towards the stage as the excitement was growing. Signal Lucian to begin the ceremony. Brothers and sisters of Sordland, I welcome you Lachaveners today as a proud servant of this country. Lucian's voice echoed in the square next to the highway. Kind of wonder why my chief of staff's up there on the stage instead of one of the more prominent members of the administration. Oh well. Hundreds of Sordland and USP flags began to wave as the cheers intensified. Without further ado, I invite the President of Sordland to the stage. Up I go. Lachaveners, welcome to the opening ceremony of the H3 Highway. Citizens, welcome to the opening ceremony of the H3 Highway. People of Sordland. Here we go. People of Sordland. The chanting from the crowd continued. At the beginning of this journey, we promised jobs and opportunity. We kept our promise. Trust me, our work is far from over. This project is only the beginning of good tidings. This first option shows that when we promise something, we stick to it, and that there's benefit to it. I think this option, it says we did a good job, basically, but there's more to come. Let's set the stage for the future. The aim of the H3 was to improve logistics to aid business and create economic growth in East Nargis and Aglan. Our intention with the H3 was to serve our citizens who were having a hard time traveling between Lachaven. Let's go with this one, because it's not just all about travel. The highway brings down travel time by half. Traveling between Lachaven and Arvoy is now faster and more comfortable. This highway brings thousands of new jobs. Many unemployed citizens have benefited and will benefit on the path of the highway. That's a good response. None of this would have been possible without my colleague with sound device, the Minister of Interior, Lilius Graf. Get over here. I took time off from my duties to personally manage the project, which is not true. It just kind of happened on its own. We have to thank the mind behind the highway project for it all, the esteemed Minister of Economy and Tax, Simon Hall. We're going to give Lilius her moment in the spotlight. Thank you, Mr. President. Lachaven, it's great to be here today among you industrious people. This project is a perfect example of the capacity and capabilities of Sordland as a nation. United we stand, divided we fall. Lilius brought attention to the strength that comes from unity. She then mentioned the positive change the highway created for Aglan. After she was done with her speech, Lucian took Lilius's place on the stage to close the ceremony. Citizens of Lachaven, there you have it. As promised, Anton Rayne, the 4th president of Sordland, has delivered. We moved towards the entrance of the highway next to the stage. A 40-meter-long red ribbon was hanging over it. Simon gave me a pair of large scissors to commence the opening. The crowd was watching. Cut the ribbon. I cut the ribbon, which led to a huge wave of cheering from the crowd. Many flashes went off at the same time. Congratulations to all. It was a solid and fruitful effort, hopefully with much more to come. It's a good moment indeed. It gives us pride as a nation, one big step behind us. Your car is prepared and ready. The drive to Arvoy should take about 4 hours, and the rest of the motorcade will follow you. Enter the car. I entered the car and sat on the driver's seat, so I'm going to drive myself. That's pretty cool. I don't think they let our president drive his own car around. Who do you want to travel with, Mr. President? Let's see, Lucian or Simon. Simon's the only one we didn't really pay any attention to here, so we're going to have him ride with us. This isn't necessary, but I won't refuse. We can talk about future economic projects. As we began driving out of the opening ceremony area and into the new highway, the media took pictures of me and Simon, who smiled to the cameras. The new highway was in pristine condition and quality. It was the best driving experience one could have nowadays, while providing the best traction and least noise. So it's a nice road, I guess. After the relaxing 4-hour drive to Arvoy, we were welcomed by celebratory citizens and Eric Niall, which is the mayor of Arvoy, apparently. The highway officially opened to the public, and thousands began utilizing it as soon as we left the area. Steam achievement unlocked. Good job, Anton. Today was a great day for the administration. There we go. So our highway is now open. President Rayne opens H3 Highway. With a grand ceremony, President Rayne has declared the H3 Highway open with his aides by his side and executives from Underhall Construction. And The Economist, another victory for Underhall. Underhall Construction, who we kind of took a bribe to give the contract to, but they did a good job, so I guess it paid off. Underhall Construction once again proved their worth with the opening of the H3 Highway. The government-contracted mega project aims to bring the much-needed investment to the northernmost cities and improve the connection between Agland region and the rest of Sordland. On the opening day, President Rayne personally drove on the new highway for the first time ever, after a speech highlighting opportunities this new logistics overhaul will bring. Alright. Now we have to move back to Whole Sword for a whole new series of meetings. Alright, let's get into the business at Lachaven. The Ministry of Health has finished a privatization proposal plan in order to increase the resources of the health system and to increase the quality of service through small-scale market competition. Additionally, the Ministry's report highlighted the weakness of Sordland has when it comes to potential epidemic. Minister Benawal reported that much more could be achieved through the healthcare system if the private sector could slightly assist by generating new revenue streams and adding new services. Not entirely a bad point. Ministry of Justice versus Sordland concurrent. What's this? The Ministry of Justice has reviewed the Ursen versus Sordland case and put forward its concurrent opinion before sending the dispute to the Supreme Court. The Vice Minister of Justice came forward agreeing with the case of Ishavel Ursen and pointed out that a majority court dissent would do disservice to the legal precedent of future constitutional rights cases. I wonder if it tells me what this is all about. Apparently not. General Staff gathers. The General Staff is convened at the Ministry of Defense today to assess the security conditions of Sordland. More than 20 high-ranking officers were in attendance and discussed several war plans, the internal stability of the nation, and the overall state of the armed forces. Alright, so now we have to meet with Joseph Lancia, our Minister of Defense. I arrived at the cubic building that housed most of the military command that resided in Wholesword. The gray and brutalist structure looked daunting. I never liked this building. It always made me feel like I was standing under the concrete foot of a giant getting ready to crush me. It made me feel small, and I never quite got used to the feeling even after this many years. At the entrance, I was greeted by Joseph and his military entourage of young officers. "Welcome to the Ministry of Defense, Mr. President. Let's go to my office." We walked from corridor to corridor to reach the office. On the way, we were met with high-ranking officers as well as privates. Every time one of these soldiers saw me, they stopped and saluted me. When we finally arrived at Joseph's office, his entourage saluted us and left. He closed the door and took a seat. Where's Vulcan? Vulcan's my, I don't know, I guess Secretary of Defense. This must be something serious, especially since you invited me here. Let's begin. What's the matter? Where's Vulcan? Vulcan is busy at the moment overseeing the defensive strategies against Rumburg. He leaned back and interlocked his hands. The situation with Rumburg is getting worse, and if it wasn't for our investment in the military, I would be even more concerned. Okay, I will make sure it won't come to that. We are prepared for the worst, aren't we? Your tone doesn't inspire confidence in our defensive capabilities. We are prepared for the worst, aren't we? Truthfully, not fully prepared. We are still going through a few changes in the military to be able to confront them if such a day was to arrive. Our efforts to restructure the military should prove beneficial in a potential conflict. We would never be able to match the force of Rumburg on equal terms, therefore our switch of the military to a smaller, well-equipped, and autonomously led combat units will prove better in the field. You've been doing a fantastic job. The military's in good hands. I trust that you will defend the country if it comes to the worst. I'd rather prevent a war altogether. I'd rather prevent the war. Me too, but we might not have a choice. As a result of the recent deal with Wayland, we have started reinforcing the border. Forward scouts have been deployed and we've started moving our divisions. Rest assured, we are ready for anything that will come from the other side of the border. We will be providing our reports to you. Okay, I don't think we will have any problems, but stay alert. We don't know what we are dealing with. I don't want anyone in. Do not let a single deserter pass our borders. Try to be lenient if possible. There might be people who are simply trying to escape war among them. Kind of goes against everything that I've done, so stay alert. We're always ready for any situation, Mr. President. Let's move on to our main topic. The mandatory conscription law has become a matter of discussion, and we need to strike a decision whether to keep it or remove it. The facts are that the conscription gives us a large reservist pool that can cover a large front line, but these troops lack the morale and quality to be offensive elements. It is the last step remaining to switch to a modern professional armed force. Our restructuring is hindered by 100,000 of cadets extending our logistics, slowing command structure, and reducing the combat efficiency of our experienced units. If they are a hindrance, then we should remove mandatory conscriptions. Are reservists really that damaging to the professional armed forces? Let's wait for Vulcan before we make any decision. Let's ask him. Let's keep the conversation going. Are they really that bad? To truly modernize our fighting force, we need to rid ourselves of the sluggish and inefficient cadets thrown to the ranks. The choice is up to you. I thought for a moment before making my decision. He's got a good point. If they aren't there willingly, they will not fight as well as a fully volunteer force. Remove mandatory conscription. It's time to have a professional force of willing... Yep, basically. Alright, we're going to remove the mandatory conscription. Sure. Sure. The new changes will be implemented as you wish. A strong knock on the door was heard, and the Chief of Armed Forces, Vulcan Kruger, walked in quickly with a frown. What is the meaning of this, Joseph? Why haven't I been invited? What's going on here? You are overstepping and interrupting a personal meeting between me and the President. I think I just got hoodwinked into doing what Joseph wanted. This guy's probably not going to be too happy about it, but I think it was the right decision. Vulcan deliberated the situation. What the hell's that supposed to mean? I see what's going on here. I mean no disrespect, but I'm leading the ground operations. I must be informed on any strategic change. Vulcan has a point. The military needs to be on the same page on any changes. Well, now that you are here, what is your opinion on conscription? What's the point? What difference does his opinion make? We already made our decision. The Minister of Defense is your superior, and so am I. Besides, this is a private meeting. He's got a point. He should probably be on the same page. Thank you, Mr. President. We are talking about our national defense, which must be consulted among all staff. To clarify, we would have brought the subject up with the General Staff and you. The matter is rather simple from my point of view. He doesn't even know what we're talking about. Our forces have gone large structural changes, changing the operational capabilities and tactics. Gibberish, but whatever. However, at the end of the day, Rumburg has a larger army, air force, and navy. Our conscripts will fill the much-needed weakness we have here. Well, too bad. Throwing bodies at a problem. We don't share the same opinion. That settles it then. I would ask you to consider revert the removal of mandatory conscription. Conscription. So close. I'm content with the decision. Sorry, Bo. Sorry, buddy. Now we can move on. This guy just wants to get on with things. We also have to decide how exactly we spend our additional remaining funds in the military. In June, we decided to upgrade the equipment for our military. The military thanks the administration for the extensive support, especially in creating a modern fighting force. We need to decide what branch we would want to modernize more. Which branches require the modernization the most? Which one needs it the most? Strategically speaking, the Army would be the safest choice. I was kind of thinking the same thing. However, the Air Force and Naval Forces would do well with further modernization too. Can't do them all. Which branch should we modernize? We're going to modernize the Army. As you wish, the changes will be implemented this month and finished at the end of November. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your time. I left the Ministry of Defense and returned to the Maroon Palace. Alright, lots of news to read. Our economy is down to 1, so that could be a problem. And we've got lots of stuff to do. Everywhere we've got lots of stuff to do. Let's read the news. Oh, 2 from the Radical. Here we go. Freedom! Sordish boys no longer forced to fight. One of Sordland's most backward traditions has finally been reversed, so we did something that the Radical is happy about. As of now, young men are freed from their requirements to join the Sordish army upon coming of age. We're just happy that those many young students who don't align with the government's aims will no longer be forced to fight for them. And women march for equal education in Anrika. In the conservative stronghold of Anrika, protesters organized by the Sordish League of Women bravely called for gender parity in the classroom. Like us, these women hope that President Rayne will use his time in office to fix Sordland's notoriously sexist public education system. Alright? Boys to men, not without conscription. Doesn't look like the whole Sword Post liked that decision very much. Sound the death knell for one of Sordland's proudest traditions. President Anton Rayne has just removed the country's mandatory conscription requirement. We can therefore prepare not only for a smaller army and decreased defensive capabilities, which is bullshit, but also for future generations of young men who have no idea how to hold a gun or follow marching orders. Once again, moving Sordland forward. This newspaper's male staffers remember their time in the Army as one of their most cherished formative experiences. It remains to be seen how Sordish boys will develop a sense of national identity and self-determination without it. They will do so because they will choose to, not because they're forced. So, now we can get on to the important business of making gender-neutral restrooms. Alright, what's this? The Codex. Organizations. Governmental. Sordish Armed Forces. Alright, so let's take a look at what we have to do here. Women's Rights March. Royal Air Base updated. Police raid on young swords. Red youth members arrested. And in Whole Sword, we have a briefing on the current economic situation. We'll get these things out of the way, then call the episode to a close. We'll get into the learning how shitty our economy is in the next episode. Our budget did go up, so it's not in the negative anymore. So let's read the reports from around the country. Successful operations from local police forces in Vesord resulted in the capture of 24 suspected Red Youth members, which were found guilty of carrying illegal weapons. The Red Youth members were hiding in a camp deep inside the forest, beyond the city's outskirts, and are being held in custody. Police raid on young swords. Dangerous young sword members were arrested in a gathering at the local pub of the St. Das district of Gen after local intelligence was tipped off by an anonymous source. Okay. Urloy Air Base update. Arcasia has finished moving its planes to the Urloy Air Force Base. As per the terms of the new agreement, the Arcasian military is allowed refuel and repair access to the Air Force Base in exchange for providing logistics, financial, and equipment support to Sordland. That's probably where our budget surplus came from. Women's Rights March. A group of local demonstrators led by representatives from the Sordish League of Women marched in Anrika. That's what we read the newspaper about, calling for gender equality in public education. Okay, anything else? Just the meeting of our economic advisors. That's probably not going to be a very fun meeting. This episode, we made some progress. We made our intentions known in the Grand National Assembly. We opened the H3 highway. And we ended the mandatory conscription, all of which I think is a good path forward. So, before we get into the bad news, I'm going to end the episode there. This is a very cheerful episode. Very happy with the way it turned out. So, anyway, I am very curious what you guys think about the series so far in this game. Comment section's been kind of quiet, so I think you're probably just sitting back and enjoying a more relaxed style of game. If you like it, hit the like button. Leave your thoughts in the comments below if you have any. If you don't, then continue to not leave comments. Whatever. I'm enjoying the playthrough. It's interesting to see how things are working out. We do have to work on our economy to bring that back up to not complete trash, which it is right now, so that'll be for a future episode. Anyway, if you'd like to follow along and see if I can make Sordland economic powerhouse, or at least not a welfare state in a massive depression, hit that subscribe button, and you can come along with us. J76NY saying thank you very much for watching, and have yourself a very good day.